G'day, g'day. So today I've been doing a little bit of mushroom foraging because we've finally had a bit of that big, beautiful rain in Australia, January 18th. So it's been raining for the last few days across the country. So as such, all the mushrooms are coming through. And after enjoying a lovely breakfast of ink caps with scrambled eggs, I went out to get a second harvest. What we have here is Polyporous arcularius, otherwise known as the spring polypore or fringed polypore. This is a light tan to brown convex to plain with a deep central depression, often covered with small dark tan flattened scales in a concentric pattern. Margin is lined with very fine hairs, leathery, thin flesh, dries tough up to 5 centimeters. Just reading that off here, right? And that there is a bit of information that comes to us from a guide to common fungi of the Hunter Central Rivers region. You can download that PDF if you need to. Very useful one. Now, what I've done here, and I'll just show you the other side of that. Right, very beautiful. And you might be able to see those very thin little hairs around the edge of that. Okay? So I've separated these out into two little groups, and I also did each mushroom individually so that I could confirm that it was the correct mushroom I'm after by obviously looking at these pores on the mushrooms themselves. As you can see, very distinct honeycomb patterns. Okay. Now, when you do harvest these guys, it is best to use some scissors because you won't get any mushrooms coming back if you just pull them up and destroy the spore base, the fungal base I should say. A very distinct feature is the honeycomb pores. However, I would also say that it has no necklace and it has no vulva, and that's actually a mycology term. A vulva is a large bulbous thing on the end of the stalk of the mushroom. I've organised these two plates into the more fresh, young looking ones, which are very much more white, and in contrast the very much darker coloured ones here. Much more dark and a little bit more nibbled on by various things, possibly slugs. Various types of wallabies do also have a symbiotic relationship with different kinds of fungus, more specifically the truffles that grow underground. I think it's the paddy melon. 80% of the diet of the paddy melon is actually fungus. So that's pretty cool. Continuing on our little article that we had before, just if you wanted to read there, at the bottom you'll see antibacterial and antibiotic compounds. I did also do some further research, and there is a very delicious edible as well. More so when it's in its young stage like this, otherwise when it ages it becomes very leathery and tough. So I'm going to be cooking those up later today as well. I have here also a jar of pre-dried ones, which I accidentally misidentified in another video for another one that is also edible and also has medicinal properties. But the other one was cinnamon polypore Coltricia cinnamomiae. I'm going to be, as I said, drying these guys out to add to this as antibacterial and antibiotics. We have varying in the cap. Okay, so you can get a perfectly round cap, and you can vary in size from something that's about this tiny little one here to something that's about as big as this fella right here. So a lot of difference in size there. And again, also you can get parts that have been nibbled out by different things, or caps that are a bit more fused together in some cases. You can get a lot of variance in these guys. Predominantly, they will be found on the submerged deadwood of Eucalyptus ironbark varieties. Another thing I felt to mention is when we are sorting these guys out, we are blowing off any bits of debris that might be on them. You might have ants on them, you might have little bits of grass or just bark or leaves or whatever. And if you're cooking these guys, you don't want to get all that in your food. So we're going to rinse those out as well to get rid of any extra bits of dust and debris, and then we'll cook those up. And, we have our plate of springtime polypores, the freshly harvested. When they're fresh like this, they are edible, but when they get older, they dry up and become leathery and very chewy. So I'm going to start by just sort of placing them in like this. I'm not going to cut them at the moment. And I'll salt them and see what we get flavour wise. I've had them raw before too, they're quite nice. Pretty pleasant flavour. A little bit of salt. And let's see what we get. Depending on what site you look at, most resources will say that up to 80 to 90% of Australia's fungi have yet to be classified. So there is very little knowledge on whether they are edible or any traditional uses. Though the universal edibility test can be slightly modified to very quickly tell if these are edible. The difference, of course, with testing mushrooms with the universal edibility test is to wait about 6 days for any signs of allergies. High smoke point olive oil in the pan. And the fringed edge margin of the mushrooms are now starting to curl over. Example right here. A lot less water in these than the ink caps. One of the main reasons so many of the mushrooms that we have at the shops are chosen as commercial varieties is shelf life. As we've mentioned, these guys tend to go leathery quite quickly, so they wouldn't last well on the shelves. The ink cap starts to decay very quickly after about 1 day, so again, doesn't have a very long shelf life. Almost looks like crispy bacon. Sizzling away nicely. This is the first time I've ever cooked these in a pan, so I'll give one of these a taste and see how we're going. Oh shit, yeah. Oh shit, yeah. Oh damn. Oh hells yeah. Oh dude. That tastes like pork. That's freaking insane. Oh shit, yeah. Oh god. Oh, I'll be doing that again. Oh shit, yes. That's good. Ho 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 ho. That's freaking delightful. Very nice. Yeah, there's the money shot right there. Ho 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 ho. That tastes like pork crackling or something. That's amazing. They would go real good with meat. Ho 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 ho, my god. Yummy. Anyway, I'm gonna just absolutely mack into that. That's so freaking good. Take care of yourselves and get out there and forage this one up, eh? Damn.